What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite for my final video of 2022. We're going to be talking about the huge DMZ updates that you need to know about, plus how the mode could become better than Escape from Tarkov. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and let me know down below in the comment section, what are you guys doing to celebrate New Year's tonight? Please have a safe celebration, don't do anything too crazy, and definitely do not drink and drive. 2023 is about to be one hell of a year that you do not want to miss out on. But with that being said, the first thing I want to bring up in regards to DMZ is regarding the barrier for entry with Building 21. As of right now, the map is back in the game. Infinity Ward confirmed earlier yesterday that the map will be live for the remainder of this weekend, but it does look like it's going to be on a bit of a cycle type system where every week it'll get added in for maybe 2-3 days, then it gets taken back out, rinse and repeat. Not sure why that's the case. I hope that's not hurting Building 21 in terms of popularity, player count, or community interest, but maybe they'll end up changing how that map rotation works at some point in 2023. But a brilliant idea that was brought to us over on the podcast, over in chat, somebody suggested that why don't they just give full game owners unlimited access to Building 21? Then for those out there that don't own Modern Warfare 2, they'll be the ones that have to go into Al-Mazrah to find the Building 21 access card so that they could play a match with that key card. I mean, to my understanding, that glitch is still in the game, allowing you to just play the map an unlimited amount of times. So might as well just not have that barrier for entry at all. I mean, just make it like the raid assignment where maybe one key card gives you a week access to the map or something, but not just one match. If you don't equip the key card but you hop into Building 21, it won't count as used. So take advantage of that if you guys still want to play a bunch more of the brand new DMZ map. And I also saw an amazing tweet over from Modern Warzone talking about the future of DMZ. He went ahead and said DMZ is only a few small steps away from being the best extraction shooter experience on the market. And I honestly couldn't agree more. We'll get more into that deeper into this video, but as he wrote, add a stash that can hold items between raids, add a player-driven economy with an auction house, and then reasons to grind besides the extra insured weapon slots. And that's important to talk about because as of now, for doing nearly all of the faction tier missions, you'll just get access to up to 3 insured weapons. That's still huge, but a lot of the challenges are fairly difficult, as I've covered in 2 other videos by now. I made one video talking about all 5 tiers for at least 2 of the factions, and then tier 5 of White Lotus was bugged up until recently, so I made a separate video about tier 5 White Lotus a couple of days ago. And with that being said, the challenges are fairly complicated, especially if you're not familiar with this extraction-like gameplay or not familiar with how DMZ works. It's not for the faint of heart, and the rewards aren't the greatest, so I think having some really worthwhile rewards under difficult challenges, that would make a little bit more sense for replayability. But as of right now, if you haven't done all the faction missions yet, that's a lot of content you can burn through over the next month-ish until Season 2 starts on February 1st. That's something to kind of kill time and keep you going if you just want to keep hopping into DMZ. But I would certainly say adding a stash that can hold items between raids is huge. I mean, being able to maybe hold on to some cash for your next deployment, or being able to use that cash during some type of auction house-like feature at the menu would also be fantastic, right? Being able to extract with X amount of money that you can spend on maybe blueprints or bonus cosmetics or XP tokens. I mean, something as fairly simple as that, I think would go a long way for the longevity of DMZ as a mode. I mean, I do respect them not releasing an economy like that right away. I think if you release something like that in like Season 2 or 3, then that would really help out with the longevity of the mode itself. If you would have dropped all that on day 1, sure, it would have sounded fantastic, but that would have been a bit too much content on one day and a bit overwhelming in my opinion for a majority of the community to have to learn all of that. So the fact that DMZ is labeled as a beta right now just has me thinking that a big economy-like feature is coming at some point in a future update. Now, also for the player-driven economy, if you have vendors at the menu that allow you to purchase things like gas masks and whatnot before going into a raid, that would be great, especially for people out there that maybe get set up in a perfect match of DMZ, and then maybe their next match they disconnect, or they get squad wiped instantly, or something goes wrong, they lose everything. But let's say they had some cash in their inventory at the DMZ menu, they can then go in and buy something from a vendor, and then maybe there's a trade-off to that. If you buy a gas mask, they'll remove like a certain perk that you might have had after all your exfils, or if you buy a gas mask, it's more expensive the more times you do it in a week or something. I mean, there could be some type of balance where it's not encouraged to really buy everything at the menu, but it's an option for those out there that need it. Now, as a big reminder, there was a phone call that took place between the press and a few select COD creators over with Infinity Ward, and during that call, it was confirmed that for DMZ, there are no plans for solos, duos, or quads. They want one entry point with trios, which I get. They want to bring dynamic weather, but it's still in the works, and Building 21 is not located in Al-Mazrah. Players have to figure out how to access, we know that already, and major updates to DMZ missions are planned for Season 2. So I wonder what those updates look like for the DMZ missions. Do Do they mean maybe adding in better rewards for some of the harder ones, adding in more tiers for the 3 factions, adding in a new faction entirely? Lots of questions with that one, but I certainly think if they somehow come up with a solo or even a duo version of DMZ, I'm surprised quads isn't an option yet, but if they come out with some alternative like that, similar to the way Warzone 2 works, where you have solos, duos, trios, quads, third person, if they come out with something like that for DMZ, that also is eliminating what is kind of a barrier to entry with just the base mode itself. There's already a barrier for entry with Building 21, but DMZ altogether is a mode that you have to play with other people, and you could queue in solo, sure. I mean, you could just go do things on your own. I made a whole solo guide here on the channel about how to play DMZ efficiently just by yourself, but it's really encouraged to have a full team. And I think if you come out with a solo or a duo version with toned down AI and better spawns for specific things, a lot more people will get into DMZ, and then they'll eventually hop onto the more hardcore version of it, which is regular trios. And I also think dynamic weather is going to be such a massive feature to help differentiate DMZ from just regular Warzone. I mean, obviously they both use the same map, Al Mazrah, and there'll eventually be other maps that get added in, like the Resurgence map that leaked out, Las Almas. We have a lot of other maps coming out that you'll be able to play DMZ on, according to rumors. So at that point, then it'll feel a bit different, but at least make DMZ take place during sunset or at night, or, you know, have some night vision elements, or just add something as simple as weather. And I say simple, but obviously it's hard to actually program that. I'm not a dev or an engineer, but I know it's not an easy task at all. Add some snow or add some rain or a dust storm, and then have that exclusive for DMZ, and just don't have that in Warzone 2 Battle Royale, and the modes will feel pretty different from one another. People out there will probably stop calling DMZ some Plunder 2.0 type mode. Now, another crazy idea that was brought up by the Bombshell co-host Fajardi the other day was in regards to some type of interactive enemy event that could happen in DMZ to make the map feel a little bit more alive. The map already feels fairly lively with the way the AI works. They're difficult, we're all fully aware of that, but for example, what you could have done is had Shadow Company have more of a presence on Al Mazrah DMZ, and maybe they're holding a lot of the access key cards for Building 21, and you can hear them having conversations about it as they walk around, and then if you kill those specific enemies, you'll be able to get those key cards from Building 21. I mean, that to me would have been such a cooler way to introduce us to the key cards, not just saying, oh, go find random care packages that will either spawn in randomly from the public drop event or from SAM sites or from killing the enemy helo. I mean, that would have been such a cooler way to introduce us to that also can help further the story a little bit as well for DMZ. But as you guys are probably aware, Escape from Tarkov recently got a fairly massive update. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on Escape from Tarkov. I'm fairly new to extraction shooters. I've only played a good 3 or 4 of them in the last couple of years, and I've played Tarkov a handful of times. But as you're also probably aware, Activision flew out Tarkov creators to the DMZ showcase event a couple of months ago, so clearly what they're aiming for with DMZ is very similar to what Tarkov already does. But like I mentioned before, right, a whole lot of respect for other gaming communities out there, Tarkov's included. Tarkov isn't free to play, isn't available on consoles, and is very, very hardcore. Now, DMZ isn't exactly easy, but it is free to play and is available on consoles, so by default, DMZ is able to reach a bigger audience than Tarkov can. And here's the thing, as DMZ just gets better and better with more updates, that doesn't mean that Tarkov's gotta be trash or we gotta talk bad about it. It just means that we could have 2 coexisting games. I mean, think of like the Call of Duty to Battlefield, and that's a poor example, I know, but with DMZ and Tarkov both still getting updates and both still being very alive and well, I think both can coexist and hopefully have people that jump over from game to game if they're a fan of just that type of extraction gameplay. So recently they got a new map, the Streets of Tarkov, essentially just a bit of a city, kind of comparable to Al Mazrah, not so much, except there's a lot more detail and immersion with debris on the map itself. They've also added enhancements to the repair kits, so I don't know much about what this entails, but apparently they've reworked the ability to repair armor, weapons, and added a new feature where when you use a repair kit, the object you used on it now has a standard or rare enhancement, and repairing body armor as an example gives you an enhancement that reduces damage you receive. That's pretty cool. Also updates to weapons and equipment, added new attachments such as a grenade launcher to all AK family automatic rifles, and a bunch of other new attachments, weapons, etc. were also added to the game. And there's also a whole bunch of patch note fixes that I'll leave down below in the description for you guys if you're interested. I mean, hey, if DMZ ever gets too stale for you guys, but you really want to play that extraction type shooter, give Tarkov a shot. If you have a PC, you might like it, and I think it's just worth remembering that, yeah, Activision flew out Tarkov creators, so clearly DMZ is meant to be some type of spiritual successor or competitor to what Tarkov is all about, but taking it a step further within the Call of Duty ecosystem. So looking at how Tarkov just added all of that, and I'm aware the game doesn't get too many frequent updates because it's not a very big dev team that handles the game itself, but looking at how those updates work, that's exactly what DMZ is going to need over the next couple of seasons this year, and hopefully DMZ gets updates for many years to come. I'm sure a DMZ 2 will eventually happen in Infinity Ward's next game. I'm sure Treyarch will borrow a lot of elements from DMZ and then merge that with Outbreak for maybe their next Zombies experience, and they'll keep that separate from round-based, of course. But with these kind of updates, I mean, look at Season 1 Reloaded for DMZ already. Just 3 weeks after the launch of this big extraction mode for Call of Duty, which I'll also call Call of Duty's first extraction-based mode, we got a new map already, which is Building 21. It just wasn't marketed in the best way. I mean, the barrier for entry is a bit odd, but the fact that we got a new map or a new experience so soon, and there's a lot to do in the map. You have Velikan, you have his grenade launcher, you have all the access key cards, secret rooms, the weapon cases, cosmetics and blueprints you can unlock. That came out just days after we got our first raid, which is also something crazy. So the fact COD is tapping into raids like Destiny, we have extraction shooters like Tarkov, they did a Rocket League mode recently. I love the variety and the expansion and just how different COD is as of right now to really just innovate on a formula that's been done time and time again. I'm a big fan of that, but I just think if they market future DMZ updates correctly and they really don't have barrier for entries with stuff like Building 21, more people will jump onto the DMZ bandwagon and will definitely enjoy it for the foreseeable future. That is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What have been your best memories for Call of Duty in 2022? Let me know down below, and also how you're feeling about these huge DMZ updates that you really needed to know about, because once those updates do release, hopefully sooner than later, that could help DMZ become even better than Escape from Tarkov ever was. But as a huge reminder too, to keep things very respectful in the comment section, both games can coexist, both games could be great, and you don't have to like either one of them, but if you clicked on this video and lasted this long, you probably do. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.